Hi, everybody, and welcome to this episode of Leginesta Bistro Kitchen. As always, I'm Eddie, and behind the camera there's Sylvia Gold, the lovely Sylvia Gold.
Hello.
So, today we are going to be making pasta, homemade, handmade pasta. Now, normally you would see videos where people are making pasta out in the open area. They put it into a big circle, make a little moat in the bottom, you put in egg, and it's just a complete waste of time. My opinion, if it's a couple and you're wanting to do something romantic, you can get dirty making pasta, I recommend using a bowl like this. It's got a high side, it holds everything, you don't have to worry about making a giant mess. And if you're somebody like me who doesn't really like to have their hands dirty, then this comes in very handy. So, we're gonna take and put this bowl to the side because we have other ways to do it. So, we have our pasta machine, which you can pick up for $20, $25 pretty much anywhere. We got this on Amazon and it cost us 25 euros. Okay, so then for every person, it's between 80 and 100 grams of flour. Now, Sylvia and I like to eat pasta, so it's 100 grams per person.
A lot.
Now, eggs. You take one large egg per person. Now, this is going to vary depending on the size of the egg. So in general, we have our own chickens, so these are our eggs. They're not getting sorted, so we don't have a box of large, a box of small. So today we have kind of a somewhat large and I would say probably a small medium. So that's going to be a bit tricky, but I'll show you how to handle it. There's an easy way to do that. So for the flour, we're using 00, all right? Because for me, that is the best when it comes to making pasta. It's lighter, it's very nice, and you can get it in any supermarket, even in the United States. Okay, so we have our 200 grams of flour, okay? We have our measuring thing. Then we're gonna use this handy dandy food processor. Now with this food processor, you don't get messy. It's done pretty quickly. Maybe the magic and the mystery of making pasta the old school way, like Italians, might be a little bit lost on this. But I personally am hungry, and I want to make nice pasta. And the fact that we make it downstairs in our restaurant, in our bistro, and I make all the pasta made to order, it needs to be done somewhat quickly. So with this, it solves everything. Okay, so we're going to take the 200 grams of flour, we're going to put it in the food processor, which, by the way, the food processor uses the little blades with like fingers, all right? Put that back. We're going to put the lid on, and then we're just going to stir the flour a little bit to get a little bit of air, all right? To get rid of anything that's in there. So we'll just run it for a second. Perfect. Now, lid off. Now, the eggs. We're going to take the 2 eggs. 1, 2. Now, if you're doing it by hand, you have to make sure that you take the eggs, put them in a bowl, and then mix them and get them nice and mixed, because you don't really want to just put that in the middle. But the eggs, it's a bit more consistent if you do it this way. So anyway, in the food processor, that's not a problem. Lid back on. Set it on this food processor. I put it on 5. I don't know what food processor you have, so whatever. And then we're going to run it until it starts sounding like it's really getting together and getting a bit harder to spin. Now, you should hear this within 10-15 seconds. If you don't, then you're probably going to have what I'm expecting to have on my issue, to where it's just not enough egg liquid to mix it all together and make a dough. So here we go. Okay, so we come in here, show me. So this is what I expected. When you don't have enough liquid or egg, then you end up with fat, which is perfectly fine. So in that situation, the best thing to do, get a little bit of water, just regular water, doesn't matter. And you just put a little bit in. Let's say 2 teaspoons. Try again. Okay, let's have a look. Okay, still needs more. So we'll take and we'll put a little bit more. And try again. It's a trial and error. Now you can hear it starting to get more mixed. All right, now.
Can we see?
Sure. So, that should be good. So in total that was like 4 teaspoons, okay? Now, on a clean surface, if you don't have this, I recommend using a cutting board, all right? It's much, much easier, okay? So, we're gonna take the dough, and we're gonna feed it out, drop it on. The dough should be all together. It can be a little sticky, all right? But for the most part, it should be relatively dry, okay? So, when you get that out, put this in the sink, because you need to be able to clean. Drop a little more flour, and then we're gonna mix. Gonna need the dough, because we need the dough. A little bit more flour. Ultimately, we're trying to keep it from being sticky. Give us a nice little mix. Push it together. Now, we wait 20 minutes. Just let it set, let it rest, and then we're going to go through on the machine. So, we'll be back right after that. Okay, we're back. It's been 20 minutes, a long 20 minutes, and everything is ready. I've already smashed it down a bit. The best thing for you to do is try to get it. Me personally, I kind of like everything to be different shapes, different lengths. I'm not mass producing pasta that needs to be absolutely perfect. So what I like to do is just make it somewhat squarish, roundish, whatever. And then I take it, when it's nice and flat, I cut it in half. Okay? Take this top right over there. And then I just start working on that, getting it up a little bit sticky. Add a little bit of flour. And then from there, I just start pushing it back out so that it's more square-ish. Keeping in mind that I don't want it to be perfect in any way. I want it to be what I do. It's my handwork. Handiwork tends to be, special and looks like that. So, our machine, we put in the handle. Now this is locked down onto the counter. On the knob here, it has numbers. Now every model has a little different. This one goes up to 9, so it always starts the same, either 0 or 1, and that is going to mean that is the largest distance between the 2 rollers, okay? So we make sure that you've got good flour on your dough because it will stick. So we start rolling, okay? Now, what I usually do is I'll take and sprinkle a little bit of flour on there after the first one. And then I will run it through again, okay? Okay? Now, a trick, if your dough is completely crazy and you don't like it, okay, so you take it, third, and then a third, okay? Then you push it down the best you can. Now you see more or less it's a rectangle. again, I could take and push this down and try to make it exactly perfect, but that's not really me. Perfect isn't me for any stretch. Sylvia will attest to that. So now,
I better stay quiet.
so we go back to this, okay? Make sure you keep good flour on it, because if you don't, it's going to stick to the rollers and you could have problems, okay? So now we're looking good. Go up to number 1. Put it in. Okay, pull it through. Now, some people say you should do it twice on each setting to make sure. I have never had that problem, so I just go ahead. I do 1 after I do 0. I go and I just do 1 roll on each segment. Okay. So now we're on 3. Okay. A little bit more flour. Number 4. Now, one thing to keep in mind is that your machine, when you get your machine, it'll have instructions. It'll tell you what number for each thing, fettuccine or spaghetti or whatever, okay, or lasagna. My machine says take it to number 6. But I personally like it better at number 4 because I like it to be a little thicker and have a little bit more bite. So I do it at 4, okay? Now, the next thing you can do is you can run it through like this and have really long strings, which is perfectly fine, that's great. Personally, I like it a bit more manageable, so I always cut it in half. Cut it in half. I take a plate and I put it underneath where the pasta is going to come out when I turn it. Put some flour on there because we have to make sure that it's not going to stick to each other. Okay? So make sure that your machine already has some flour in it so it doesn't stick. And then, probably should put it in the right spot. Okay? Then you just start rolling, and then you'll see it coming out. Woohoo! And then you roll it over, you flip it, and then you go to the next one. In the spot. Roll it. And there you go. And then you just keep flipping so that they all keep the flour, so you don't have to worry about them sticking together. Now we do the same thing with the next one. Put some more flour down here. Okay. Now put this back on 0. Handle in the right spot. Start rolling. Okay. Let's go ahead and do it in thirds again, just because that's how we did it on the first one. Push it down. Okay, and we'll roll it through. All right. Go ahead and go to 1. 2. 3. Now at this point you can really see the color. That's the point where I'm like, eesh, maybe I should put a little flour. Get a little bit more flour on it. As Missy Elliott used to say, flip it. So, come through. All right, looking nice. Number 4, last one. Come through. Make sure that you keep it centered. And there we are, look at that. How nice is that? Cut it in half. Okay, now. Okay, gets under. And then keep an eye out, because sometimes, depending on the surface you're using where you have it mounted, it can fall off, like on me on this side, sometimes a piece or two will fall on the floor. And usually when I'm working, I usually lose at least one piece of fettuccine or put it in the right one, right? Fettuccine or pasta or whatever. So I try to keep my hand underneath and keep everything kind of safe. And then, there we are.
Yum, yum.
Our homemade, handmade pasta. Very simple, it's really quick. All you need is flour and eggs. And then we're now going to cook some aglio and olio, which is olive oil and some garlic. And that's pretty much it. A little salt, a little Parmesan cheese on top. And you're set. It's really, really simple. So if you're stuck inside, maybe it's a good idea to start making your own pasta. What the heck? You don't really need a machine. You can take the dough, you roll it out with a pin, or do the smart thing. Make sure you drink a bottle of wine before you start. That way you have the bottle. Use the bottle to roll out your dough. And then you use a nice knife to make fettuccine or strips or tagliatelle, whatever you want to do. There's lots of things you can do. So, that is our episode on pasta. Next time, let's see, maybe I'll make carbonara. Okay, well, you guys, thanks a lot for watching. Subscribe, like, do all the social media stuff, and I look forward to seeing you here, or at least in the next video. All right, bye-bye.